We have been waiting to see if HBO's The Last of Us would be decent because while it might look pretty, it strays very far from the source material. Characters are changed, certain creatures aren't in the show, the pacing is very different. I mean, there's a lot that doesn't follow the game, and before the premiere released last night, there were apparently thousands of positive reviews on Rotten Tomatoes and IMDb, sites that typically don't allow reviews to be left until hours after content releases. I have a bunch of different things to show off, but before we get into the topic at hand, if you enjoy the content that I create, please make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. Follow me on social media like Twitter or mine so that you can see when my content is posted. And of course, if you do really enjoy the videos and the live streams that I create, please consider becoming a Dark Titan via Patreon for just $1 a month, or support the channel via YouTube memberships. All of the links are in the description, and of course, I do really appreciate all of the support. Now, when it comes to The Last of Us, a long time ago, was pretty excited for it because I was very hopeful that they were going to follow the source material and try to make it a good, accurate series. But at this point, any excitement I really had for it kind of went down the drain because, of course, Neil Druckmann and Craig Mazin have done many interviews at this point talking about how they've changed so much from the game, and the reason why this show exists is because the games were so successful and people really liked the first Last of Us. And while I am going to watch this series because I want to be able to talk about it here on YouTube and give you my fair opinions, there have been very suspicious situations surrounding these scores already, because the Last of Us audience score debuted at 100% hours before the first episode actually aired. And the reason why this is so suspicious is because Rotten Tomatoes never, well, at least almost never now, allows users to post scores before shows or movies and just content in general has actually released. They never open up the floodgates early, and now with this show they have, which is very odd. And there were thousands of reviews left between Rotten Tomatoes and IMDb that were extremely positive. I mean, only 5 out of 5s. So it says that questions over the reliability of Rotten Tomatoes audience scores have been raised more and more in the last few months, as review bombing has seen figures jumping wildly in all directions. Now, The Last of Us has debuted at 100% approval rate hours before the first episode was actually available to watch. Now, I always say this, but I do not trust Rotten Tomatoes, I do not trust these review sites, and I especially do not trust critics. But the fact that these were user scores is a little bit, odd. But we are always accused of negatively review bombing things. Producers, directors, actors say whenever things are going very negatively for their content, that bots are leaving negative reviews to try to drag down the scores. But in this case, it honestly looked like bots were sent from these people to positively review bomb this show. It says The Last of Us has been critically hailed as the best video game adaptation ever and currently holds a rare 98% approval rate from critics on Rotten Tomatoes. Again, I do not trust critics. They have given me absolutely no reason to, and I have talked about the critic reviews already, but all of them are praising it, saying it's an amazing, perfect show, but almost all of them are ignoring the fact that it strays heavily away from source material. And now the user scores are looking pretty freaking perfect as well. The critic score is up to a 99 and the audience score is at a 96%. And on social media, I have definitely seen a lot of people talking about the show, saying, you know what, for a first episode, it's really solid. But at the same time, I just can't judge a show by one episode. And yes, I will admit, and I will give them credit, that in episode 1 there were a lot of shot for shots from the game. They did recreate a lot of sequences in it, but my problem is that, while I thought this episode was solid, I know what's coming. I know that they're changing all of these different things that they've admitted to. So Any excitement I might have gotten from episode 1 is already kind of drained from me. Unless they were lying the whole time, which obviously they wouldn't do that, there's too many problems to say, wow, this is amazing. I am not going to blindly trust them and say, you know what, maybe they'll make it all better in the end. The episodes are releasing weekly, so it'll be a while until I can judge all of the content, but I'm just not easily impressed anymore. Companies and creatives are constantly lying to us, changing things, and expecting us to just shut up and accept it, and I'm not gonna do that. Again, the shots from the game to TV was really cool, but that's the only praise that I can give it right now. You also might ask what they're changing, because this first episode did seem pretty accurate to source material, but I have taken many screenshots and talked about it in other videos. As you can see, why HBO's Last of Us removed most of the game's violence. Then you have Last of Us series changes how the infection spreads and why the co-creators decided to do that. Then you have the HBO Last of Us has major timeline changes from the video game. Why the Last of Us TV show changed the virus spores to tendrils. So they have changed many different things about this, source material. They haven't followed it, and that for me is very disappointing, and I know a lot of other people are also extremely disappointed with their decision to change so much. Also, Ryan Kinnell over at RK Outpost posted this last night at 9:09 p.m. So that is the timestamp. The show didn't even start until 9 o'clock. It says, I'm sure all the woke media outlets who claim something is getting review bombed will also talk about nearly 2,000 fake positive reviews for The Last of Us before it even comes out. And of course, he was being sarcastic because they're not going to do that. It was sitting at a 9.6 out of 10 with nearly 2,000 ratings before it even released. And look at IMDb, look at the score. I mean, come on, 1,747 positives, and there were some negatives, some 1 stars and 2 stars, but really not that many. I mean, 136 and then 12 compared to 2,000 positives really doesn't make that much of a difference. There are still plenty of people out there who trust the media, who trust these journalists who talk about these situations, and if you do, you should pay attention to the response over the next few days, because if they do not talk about this, it just gives you another reason to not trust them. They only cover situations that they want to, and they ignore situations that fall in line with their narratives, because of course this series has changed some cast members, diversified it a little bit. They, of course, took out almost all of the violence from this series from what we've heard, and they probably really like that. So just keep an eye on how they respond to this in the next few days, because I'm honestly surprised that I even found one article bringing it up, and this was by MovieWeb. I highly doubt that we're going to see any other websites really cover this situation in depth. But as you can see, The Last of Us scores are really freaking solid right now. I know that a lot of people on social media are saying it was a good first episode, but they're very skeptical over the next few episodes until the show ends. Only time will tell if the scores will stay this high, but it does seem like these websites are up to something a little bit suspicious, that maybe they're not putting all of the reviews on, but they are allowing all of the positives to go through with absolutely no problem. But that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed it and found it important and informative, please make sure to give it a like, share it, and subscribe to the channel. And of course, if you didn't, make sure to give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I will talk to you all again in the next video really soon.